What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're diving into Marvel's epic 2-in-1. A 12-issue journey packed with action, drama, and multiversal stakes. This story brings us the unforgettable duo of Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm, two heroes searching for their family while grappling with loss, hope, and a whole lot of surprises. We'll explore the heartbreaking moments, the jaw-dropping battles, and the unexpected alliances that make this series a must-read for any Marvel fan. So, grab your favorite snack, get comfortable, and join me as we uncover the secrets behind this amazing adventure in Marvel's 2-in-1. Let's get into it. The story begins with Johnny Storm competing in a high-speed race, determined to win. Despite warnings from his pit crew that the engine is overheating and he needs to ease up, Johnny ignores their advice. Suddenly, his car bursts into flames. Miraculously, Johnny walks away from the fiery wreck, completely engulfed in flames, but seemingly unharmed and unbothered. The scene then shifts to Ben Grimm, who is presiding over the inauguration of the Fantastic Award for Space and Dimensional Exploration. As the hostess introduces him, Ben steps up to deliver his speech. He says, Reed was the guy. He was the big brain who kept looking to the stars. Johnny loved the adventure of it, running without thinking. Sue protected us, made sure we kept our eyes on what we were doing and why. She saw the big picture of our little trips, what it meant for everyone, what it meant for the world. I just drove the bus. For anyone out there looking to explore, to do what we did. Well, I hope you got 3 pals who checked those boxes. And I hope you find what you were looking for, and what you weren't looking for. Because that's where real discoveries are made. Thanks for this. Reed and Sue would be proud knowing this award exists. After Ben Grimm finishes his speech, the hostess thanks him warmly. As he steps away, he's quickly surrounded by people eager to talk to him. Among them, a woman catches his attention and asks if he has a cigarette. Ben chuckles and replies that he quit years ago. She compliments his speech but admits the ceremony is dull, prompting Ben to ask if she plans to head back inside. She says she will and adds, with a sly smile, that she'll see him after he cleans up the mess. Confused, Ben asks what mess she's referring to, just as Spider-Man crashes into the room, hurled through the air by a masked villain named Piledriver. It turns out Piledriver was robbing a jewelry store, and Spider-Man attempted to stop him. Without hesitation, Ben steps in, grabs the villain, and clobbers him to the ground with ease. Ben asks Spider-Man what he's doing there, and why is he dressed in a tuxedo. Spider-Man tells him that he's there to show his support for Ben. Ben says, seriously? You going to ask me for money? Spider-Man responds by saying, well, the tux is a rental and I stupidly waived the insurance. I mean no. I wanted to talk to you about Johnny. Ben expresses frustration, saying he doesn't want to talk about the Human Torch because Johnny left him to handle the event alone. Spider-Man acknowledges that Johnny isn't the most reliable person, but he's concerned about him. He explains that Johnny seems unusually withdrawn, pushing himself too hard and acting recklessly while pretending everything is fine. Spider-Man admits that Johnny refuses to open up to him and asks Ben to try talking to Johnny, hoping he might be able to get through to him. Spider-Man then hands Ben the keys to the storage hangar where the Baxter building equipment is kept. He suggests Ben take the Fantastic car and visit Johnny in Wyoming. When Ben arrives at the storage hangar, memories flood back to him. He recalls a conversation with Sue, who once told him that if anything ever happened to her or Reed, she wanted Ben to take care of Franklin, Valeria, and Johnny. Sue made him promise, and Ben silently reflects on the weight of that promise. Suddenly, a voice interrupts Ben's thoughts, asking if he's lost in reverie. Ben turns and is startled to see Dr. Doom as infamous Iron Man. Doom advises him not to dwell on the past, calling it a trap. Skeptical, Ben tells Doom he doesn't buy the good guy act and warns him to start talking before things get physical. Calmly, Doom replies that he's come bearing gifts and presents Ben with a small, round orb. Confused, Ben jokes, what am I supposed to do with this? Catch 'em all, a nod to Pokemon. Doom explains that the orb was left for Ben to access after Reed's death. Angered, Ben accuses Doom of rummaging through the Baxter building's belongings. Without hesitation, he lunges at Doom, remarking on Ben's endless tendency toward violence. Ben fires back, accusing Doom of breaking into his home and stealing his inheritance. Remaining composed, Doom admits he's there to say he was wrong. He explains that he's trying to become a better man and sees righting past wrongs as part of that journey. To that end, he's bequeathing Ben the orb and asks for forgiveness for his minor transgressions. Ben thinks Doom is trying to trick him. Doom says, believe me or don't. It is of no consequence. Whatever Richard's left, it can only be activated by you, so do with it as you will. Goodbye, Benjamin. I hope your nostalgia gives way to a future. Doom leaves and the orb activates, revealing a hologram of Reed Richards. Reed tells Ben the following, Ben, I have several versions of this recording, each to be activated depending on the situation regarding my demise. This one is for an instance where Susan, myself and our children are gone. Ben, if it's just you and Johnny left, I have a favor to ask of you. Explore. Don't stop. You may not think that you need it, but you do. And Johnny certainly does. The multiverse is grand and the 4 of us only scratch the surface. So I'm leaving you the Multisect. A tool that can access an area known as the Multiplane, a nexus for seemingly infinite universes. It's a device that cannot fall into the wrong hands, Ben. So I hid it. In a place only you and I would know about. The location of our first adventure. Retrieve the trophy, take Johnny, and live the life you've always lived, a fantastic one. The scene shifts to Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, soaring into outer space before letting himself free fall back to Earth in a reckless stunt. Ben witnesses this and yells out to Johnny, who is visibly annoyed by his presence. Johnny snaps, telling Ben he didn't ask for him to come. Ben responds, no, but Spidey did. Frustrated, Johnny dismisses Spider-Man as a superhero grandmother who worries about everyone and demands that Ben leave him alone. Unfazed, Ben tells Johnny he knows about the racetrack incident and now this free-falling stunt. He says he's already lost Reed, Sue, and the kids, and he can't bear to lose Johnny too. Johnny, furious and engulfed in flames, shouts at Ben to stop. He demands that Ben stop reminding him of everything they've lost, of all the people they'll never see again. Despite Johnny's outburst, Ben calmly reiterates that he can't lose him. He pleads with Johnny, saying that if he's struggling, he should talk to him, just don't keep throwing himself into danger. Johnny reluctantly admits to Ben that he's losing his powers. He explains that his flames are weaker and that he can't flame on for as long as he used to. Johnny confesses that the team, their family, was the most important part of his life, and now that it's gone, he feels empty. He fears that if he loses his powers too, he'll have nothing left. Ben tries to reassure him, telling Johnny that Doom returned an orb Reed had left behind and that the orb contained a holographic message from Reed. Ben lies and tells Johnny that in the message, Reed hinted that he, Sue, and the kids might still be alive. As Ben shares this hope, unbeknownst to them, Doom is spying on their conversation through his advanced technology. Watching their interaction, Doom seems perplexed and even offended, questioning why Ben would claim Doom stole the orb in the first place. Why would he ever say such a thing? Doom mutters to himself, intrigued. The story picks up with Ben confiding in a woman named Alicia about Johnny. He expresses regret over lying to Johnny about Reed, Sue, and the kids possibly being alive, fearing that the false hope could emotionally and psychologically devastate him. Alicia advises Ben that it's not too late to tell Johnny the truth, leaving Ben deep in thought. 2 days later, over the Pacific Ocean, Ben and Johnny are flying in the Fantastic car. They casually chat about the Fantastic Four comic book, with Johnny complaining that it's disrespectful to keep it going after Reed and Sue are gone. Mid-conversation, Ben grumbles at Johnny to move his feet, prompting Johnny to joke that he doesn't smell because he burns off all his germs. He even claims he doesn't need to brush his teeth, which disgusts Ben. When Johnny asks where they're headed, Ben reveals that they're over the site of their first adventure, Monster Island. Johnny admits he's annoyed that Reed left the message for Ben instead of him. Ben, in an attempt to lighten the mood, jokes that maybe Reed made the decision alphabetically. Ben and Johnny wander into a dark cave in search of the multisect. Ben jokes that Reed must have hidden it somewhere obvious, knowing neither of them is exactly a genius. He suggests that maybe Reed left them the multisect as a contingency plan in case of his death. Johnny agrees, speculating that Reed wanted them to keep exploring and continuing as the Fantastic Four, even without him. It was always important to Reed that they stayed a team. As the cave grows darker, Ben tells Johnny to flame on for light. Suddenly, they find themselves surrounded by the Mole Man and his army of subterranean creatures. The monsters attack, and despite the danger, Ben and Johnny admit it feels good to fight side by side again. However, Ben quickly realizes they can't hold off the swarm for long. He urges Johnny to heat up and drive the creatures away. But as Johnny tries, he discovers to his horror that he can't generate enough heat. His flames are fading. Overwhelmed, he's quickly overrun by the monsters. Dr. Doom, now the infamous Iron Man, suddenly appears and drives the monsters back, saving Ben and Johnny. Suspicious, Ben accuses Doom of following them to steal Reed's invention, the multisect. Doom dismisses this as an oversimplification, but before he can explain further, Ben attacks him. Annoyed, Doom blasts Ben away and declares that he is after the multisect, believing he can do far more good with it than Ben and Johnny, who merely plan to use it to travel the multiverse. Ben counters that they need the multisect to find Reed, Sue, and the kids. Doom, however, pities Ben, calling his hope misguided. The monsters, impressed by Doom's power, suddenly declare him their new president for defeating both Ben and their own forces. Furious, Mole Man protests, but Doom coldly orders the creatures to drag Mole Man to the deepest part of the cave. Doom then announces that there is no multisect here, calling himself a fool for following Ben and Johnny, believing they might have led him to it. He declares he will leave and will no longer waste time trailing them. Ben warns Doom that he won't let him walk out after using them, but Doom calmly replies that he has no intention of staying. Before leaving, Doom suggests that Reed was bluffing all along and that the multisect might not even exist, calling their mission a wild goose chase. Enraged, Ben tells Doom to leave before he does something he'll regret. Doom then says, "A pleasure as always. I hope whatever trophy Richards left out there for you is not as useless as the two of you." Johnny asks Ben where are they going to try looking next. The story flashes back to Doom winning an academic award during his college days. Ben, watching from the audience, feels the award should have gone to Reed, knowing the professors preferred Reed's paper over Doom's. As Doom walks off stage, He smugly refers to Reed and Ben as Reed and Dan. Ben corrects him, and Doom coldly replies, apologies. I tend not to retain information about people who hold no value. Before Ben can react, Reed steps in, telling Doom that's enough. Smirking, Doom tells Reed to enjoy his second-place evening before walking away. Furious, Ben vents to Reed, calling Doom a fraud and insisting that Reed is the true genius. Reed, unbothered, says he doesn't need awards, he just needs his inventions to work. Still angry, Ben suggests they ruin Doom's night to even the score. The two sneak into a building using a fake keycard and deface Doom's award plaque by taping an F over the M in his name, turning it into Victor Von Doof. The next morning, they ensure everyone on campus sees their handiwork. When Doom discovers the vandalism, his expression darkens with visible rage. Doom forced the school to restore his name on the plaque, but Reed always found a way to evade the cameras and change it back to Doof. Back in the present, we see Ben and Johnny at the school, removing a trophy from the display case. Ben pries it open, revealing that it secretly contains the multisect. The story shifts to Oslo, Norway, where the Mad Thinker is fixated on a screen displaying the question, "Where is Reed Richards?" Over and over, he mutters the question aloud, clearly unsettled. Something isn't right, he says. What do we do when Reed Richards is missing? Suddenly, a voice interrupts, stating bluntly, Richards is dead. The voice belongs to Dr. Doom, who steps into view and demands to know what the Mad Thinker is plotting. Meanwhile, in Brooklyn, New York, Ben and Johnny walk down the street. Ben tells Johnny they're in Brooklyn to grab a drink. Johnny scoffs, questioning why they'd waste time in this Brooklyn when they could be using the multisect to grab drinks in a different Brooklyn, in a different universe. Ben firmly replies that they're not jumping to any universes yet because Johnny is broken, and they aren't going anywhere until Ben helps him get back to normal. Frustrated, Johnny asks who they're supposed to visit to fix him. They arrive at a bar, where they find Hercules sitting with a drink in hand. Ben asks him how he managed to regain his powers after losing them. Hercules explains that it was Zeus who helped him reclaim his strength, but he didn't beg, it was a matter of proving himself. With a grin, Hercules suggests the three of them team up for an adventure, hinting at a path to restoration for Johnny. The story shifts to Jack Pine, Wyoming, 4 hours later. Johnny complains about having to ditch the Fantasticar and walk. Hercules advises him to trust a god, explaining that they're visiting someone who values her privacy so fiercely that she once shot down his Quinjet. Johnny arrogantly declares that no one would dare shoot him down. They eventually arrive at the home of Ms. Rachna Kull. Upon entering, Rachna immediately calls Hercules an idiot. Ben and Johnny plead with her to help them, but she dismisses them with a sarcastic, "Oh great, doorstep sad puppies, just what I need." She explains that she helped Hercules regain his powers but informs them she's book solid. She also states that her services cost between $250,000 and $750,000. Johnny, exasperated, says he doesn't have that kind of money and questions why she won't help him simply because it's the right thing to do. He argues that his powers save lives, but Rachna coldly retorts that she restores powers for money, not morality. Johnny then notices Hydro-Man in a recovery tank in her lab and becomes furious. He yells at Hydro-Man, who once tried to kill him, shouldn't be her client. Enraged, Johnny breaks the recovery tank, releasing Hydro-Man, who immediately assumes Rachna betrayed him. He attacks Ben, prompting Johnny to intervene. When Hydro-Man turns his rage on Rachna, she equips a zeptoparticle-enhanced artificial hand, which she claims is designed to restore powers but also serves as a weapon. With the press of a button, she shocks Hydro-Man into submission. Calmly, Rachna informs him that his payment cleared, his powers are restored, and he should leave. Hydro-Man, subdued, exits through the toilet. Johnny pleads with Rachna to help him, accusing her of being immoral for helping people only for money. Unfazed, Rachna fires back, saying she has her reasons and doesn't care about his opinions. She calls him a self-absorbed fool who runs around thinking he's special, only to come crawling to her when that specialness fades. She accuses people like him of being addicted to feeling superior, while she actually is superior, and worth every penny she charges. When she asks again if he has the money, Johnny admits he spent it all funding the Avengers. Rachna sarcastically remarks that they're not the Fantastic Four anymore but the Fantastic Four and declares their discussion over. Ben, however, pulls out the multisect and reveals that traveling the multiverse is possible. Johnny adds that the message Reed left for Ben proves that Reed, Sue, and the kids might still be alive somewhere in the multiverse. Intrigued, Rachna offers a deal. She'll diagnose what's wrong with Johnny in exchange for being allowed to join them on their journey through the multiverse. She then says the following: "My sensors have been studying you two since you walked into my home. You remember how I was saying that Hercules here is tethered to a conduit of power? Well, the original Fantastic Four are tethered to each other. You can be apart within your universe and retain connection, but prolonged periods cut off from each other universes." She asks Ben if he feels weaker and Ben says yes, but he thought it was because he was getting older. Rachna tells him that he is losing his powers too and that she can't actually help them unless they find their friends. Or else they will both be powerless very shortly. The story picks up with the Mad Thinker and Doom locked in a tense confrontation. The Mad Thinker demands to know what Doom wants, but Doom flips the question, saying it's not about what he wants but what the Mad Thinker is after. Doom accuses the mad thinker of showing little originality in the past but acknowledges that his current work is far more creative, too creative, in fact. He accuses the mad thinker of stealing the technology from Reed Richards, calling him nothing more than a common thief. The mad thinker smirks and responds, "What if I did? Reed is missing anyway." Before he can continue, Doom cuts him off, mocking the idea that the mad thinker could ever take Reed's place. Doom admits that while Reed may not have been Doom's equal, the two of them are far superior to the mad thinker. Doom clarifies that he's not there to shame him but to recover the missing technology from Reed's lab. If the mad thinker has it, Doom intends to take it. Suddenly, the mad thinker blasts Doom, sending him to Antarctica. Triumphant, the mad thinker declares, "I am the mad thinker, and I will fill the void Reed Richards left behind." He pauses and reflects before adding, "But the truth is, the world doesn't need the mad thinker, it needs Reed Richards. You think you can fill the void of Stark, Victor? Well, I'll fill a void as well." With that, he boldly proclaims his next move, forming a new Fantastic Four. Ben and Johnny are suited up and preparing for their journey. Spider-Man, clearly worried, questions whether they're really ready to do this without Reed Richards. He jokes, saying, "Are you guys sure you know what you're doing? Because honestly, you're the type who'd think Captain America's last name is actually America." Ben glares at him, and Spider-Man quickly backtracks, adding, "But hey, you're street smart, at least." Alicia then voices her own concerns, asking if it's really safe to travel across the multiverse using a device they barely understand. Ben reassures her, explaining that they're bringing Rachna along because she's smart enough to handle it. Introducing Rachna to Alicia, Ben jokingly refers to her as a super smart forest creature. Rachna, unfazed, quips that she lives in the forest to avoid dealing with idiots. Rachna then turns to Johnny, explaining the device she brought with her. She says it's designed to hone in on a very specific type of cosmic radiation, the kind that binds the original Fantastic Four together. She explains that once the multisect opens a gateway to the multiverse, her device will scan the accessible universes to locate potential matches for Reed, Sue, and the kids. Spider-Man, realizing how capable Rachna is, gives her his reluctant approval to take Ben and Johnny to another universe. Once ready, Rachna secures herself to Ben and Johnny, and they activate the multisect, entering the multiplane, the space between universes that connects them all. Suddenly, they begin free-falling toward the Earth of this new universe. Ben crashes to the ground, landing on his feet, while Johnny uses his powers to carefully carry Rachna down. As they regroup, Rachna checks her device and announces that it's picking up unique cosmic radiation coming from this universe's Baxter building. Excited by the prospect of finding his family, Johnny urges them to waste no time. Rachna agrees but suggests splitting up to cover more ground. She explains that she'll investigate lower-level radiation readings nearby while Ben and Johnny head to the Baxter building. Handing them communicators, she emphasizes the importance of staying in contact. Johnny and Ben speculate whether alternate versions of themselves exist in this universe. Curious, Ben asks a random man if he recognizes him, to which the man responds, "Yeah, you're the guy who wrecked my car 9 years ago." Laughing it off, Ben quips that it's nice to know he's clobbering cars in every universe. Meanwhile, Johnny questions why they didn't attempt to find Reed and the family sooner if it was this straightforward. Ben brushes him off, saying they'll deal with those questions after they find their loved ones. He adds that he doesn't want to spend any more time in this universe than necessary. Suddenly, She-Hulk and Wolverine confront them, making it clear they're not welcome. Wolverine growls that they've got 3 seconds to explain who they are and why he shouldn't kill them. As Ben and Johnny try to explain, She-Hulk and Wolverine remain convinced they're Skrulls. Wolverine leaps at Johnny, slashing him, while She-Hulk charges Ben. In the chaos, Wolverine hurls Johnny aside, and Ben counters by slamming a car into She-Hulk. Johnny tries to flame on but struggles, and Wolverine takes the opening to stab him through the shoulder. Seeing Johnny bleed red, Wolverine pauses and admits they've made a mistake. Johnny and Ben aren't Skrulls. Ben, furious, punches Wolverine, sending him flying into a building, and demands She-Hulk take them to Reed. On the way, Wolverine apologizes to Johnny for stabbing him, but Johnny coldly replies, "Apology not accepted." Ben asks She-Hulk if she and Wolverine work for S.H.I.E.L.D. now. She explains that they do, as it helps superheroes operate more cohesively, especially with nearly 1 million Skrulls secretly replacing humans on their Earth. They arrive at Reed's lab, where Reed Richards and Beast are busy working on a project. Ben greets Reed with a familiar "Hey, Stretcho," but Reed immediately questions how they got there. After a moment, Reed realizes they aren't his Ben and Johnny, noting that they must be from another universe. Johnny, frustrated, snaps at Reed, saying he isn't their Reed, angrily cursing as he realizes they're in the wrong place. Reed, disinterested, dismisses them and says he needs to return to his work. Hank McCoy, also known as Beast, escorts Ben out of the lab. On the way, Ben asks Beast if Reed is okay. Beast sighs and admits that Reed is struggling, then guesses correctly that Ben and Johnny are from the multiverse. Ben confirms this and explains that they're searching for their universe's Reed, Sue, and the kids. Curious, Ben asks why Reed reacted so strangely to seeing him. Beast reveals that their Ben died years ago, and after his death, Sue divorced Reed. She now heads the superhuman division of S.H.I.E.L.D., leaving Reed isolated and consumed by his work. Beast explains to Ben that the biggest difference between their universes lies in how they dealt with Galactus. When Galactus arrived, the only heroes capable of stopping him were the Fantastic Four. In this reality, Ben rushed ahead to face Galactus alone but was tragically vaporized. Devastated, Reed tried to confront Galactus by himself but also failed. Then Dr. Doom appeared, determined to succeed where Reed had failed and to assert his dominance by saving the Earth before its destruction. Doom created advanced technology that allowed him to take over Galactus's body, using it to defeat the cosmic entity and save the planet. Doom promised the world he wouldn't devour Earth, as Galactus had devoured countless others. While he kept his word, Beast explains, the loss of Ben was too much for Reed to bear, leading to his emotional collapse. Johnny, shocked, asks how Reed could give up so completely. Beast solemnly answers that while Doom didn't devour Earth, there was a darker cost. Galactus craved energy, but Doom craves power. Using his newfound abilities, Doom consumed the entire universe, leaving destruction in his wake. Johnny is baffled by how this universe's Reed Richards failed to stop Galactus. He exclaims, and Doom, Dr. Doom, the worst guy, defeated Galactus by taking over his mind? Beast nods, confirming it. Johnny presses on, and now Doom, as Galactus, has consumed the entire universe except for Earth? And Reed is just sitting back, doing nothing about it. Beast responds calmly, it's a bit more complicated than that. Ben then enters Reed's lab while Reed is working and slaps him, calling him a coward. Ben tells Reed that the Reed he knew would hide in his lab, he wouldn't give up. Reed tells Ben he doesn't understand. Ben says he does understand, they both have lost people they love. Ben tells Reed that if it was Doom from Ben's universe had the power of Galactus, then Ben would have done something about it. Reed then grows in size and yells, you don't understand. He then goes on to say the following, I have nothing. Sue is gone. Johnny is gone. Doom won by saving us all. And now I'm alone to live with that fact. I tried to make the remaining years good for the people left, but it'll be over soon. Doom is coming and I have no way of stopping him. You at least have hope. Your family is still out there somewhere. Ben tells Reed that it's not necessarily true, and that it's not too late to do something. Susan Storm walks into the lab, her presence commanding immediate attention. She says she spoke with Wolverine and She-Hulk, who told her that Ben and Johnny are from another universe. She adds that she had to see it for herself. Ben, attempting to lighten the mood, remarks that it's almost like a big family reunion and that he should go get Johnny. Then, turning serious, he asks, speaking of Johnny, what happened to your Johnny? Susan glances at Reed and then back at Ben, a somber expression on her face. Oh, Reed, she says softly, you didn't tell him, did you? Johnny contacts Rachna, explaining that they didn't find his Reed Richards and asking if she has any leads. She replies that she doesn't but promises to recalibrate her multi-sensor to determine their next destination. Johnny urges her to hurry, warning that this universe might not have much time left. Turning his attention to Susan, Johnny greets her with a warm hug. Their moment is interrupted when Susan receives a call. She answers, then turns back to the group with a grave expression, saying, it's starting. The scene shifts to a battlefield where numerous heroes are assembled, fighting against Doom's heralds. Ben, always the optimist, remarks that this is a good thing, it's a chance for everyone to blow off some steam. With a determined grin, he declares, it's clobbering time, and charges into the fray. Johnny, less certain, hesitates and questions whether they should join the fight. He points out that their powers are already weakening, and he worries this battle might push them past their limits. Reed Richards tries to run towards Ben and Johnny to tell them that the heralds will kill them when he himself gets picked up by a herald. Johnny flies after him. He blasts Doom's herald but in the process loses his flames and falls down to Earth. Reed then acts as a parachute and brings Johnny down safely. Ben tells Susan that they're losing their powers. Reed addresses the gathered heroes, admitting he has spent far too long avoiding responsibility. He declares that it's time to stop Doom once and for all. Suddenly, a voice interrupts, well, allow me to offer my expertise as a foremost expert. The voice belongs to none other than Dr. Doom. Appearing as the infamous Iron Man, Rachna immediately points out that Doom must have been tailgating them through the multiverse. Johnny says he knew he saw Doom following them earlier. Wolverine lunges at Doom, but Doom easily deflects the attack, calmly stating, I am here to help. Surely my choice not to kill this tiny man is proof of that. Doom clarifies that he is Victor Von Doom but from another universe. He explains that he followed Ben, Johnny, and Rachna to gain data on their multi-sect and now proposes an alliance to stop Galactus Doom. Reed hesitates, but Ben vouches for this Doom, explaining that he has been acting as Iron Man and saving lives. Johnny agrees but adds they should still keep an eye on his shady tin ass. Johnny and Ben then reveal to Reed that their powers are fading fast. While Reed and Rachna begin brainstorming a solution, Doom grows irritated, insisting this is not the time to fix their powers, they need to focus on defeating Galactus Doom. Johnny fires back, saying they've saved the universe countless times, only for Doom to snark, that's not impressive, considering how high you can count. Reluctantly, Reed agrees with Doom that defeating Galactus Doom must take priority. The story shifts to a remote farm where Norrin Rad, the former Silver Surfer, now resides. Ben and Johnny have been searching for him and ask where his surfboard is. Suddenly, Emma Frost appears and shoots Ben in the head, but the bullet harmlessly bounces off. Johnny urges her to read their minds to confirm they're the real deal. After doing so, Emma, revealed to be Norin's partner, turns to him and says he must become the Silver Surfer one last time because Doom is coming. The story continues with Reed and Doom collaborating in a lab, crafting a device to stop Galactus Doom. As they work, Reed muses aloud, saying, "Doesn't this feel right?" He wonders if they were always destined to be enemies and laments the lost potential of what they could have achieved together for humanity had they joined forces from the start. Later, Galactus Doom arrives and the X Squadron is the first to intercept him. F Squad, led by Susan Storm, takes point in the confrontation. Meanwhile, Ben, the infamous Iron Man, and Reed follow from the ground. Reed confesses to the group that their actions are meant to distract Galactus Doom while he and Doom prepare a surprise. The infamous Iron Man bristles at this, claiming it's insulting to suggest that any version of Doom could be caught off guard. Still, he agrees to go along with Reed's plan. Reed and Doom then unleash their secret weapon, upgraded PIM particles designed to enhance Ben's size dramatically. As Ben grows into a towering behemoth, he grins and charges toward Galactus Doom, shouting, "Go big or go home." Rachna, standing beside Susan, warns her that Ben won't be able to maintain his enormous size for long, so they'd better hope he lands a few solid hits. Meanwhile, Galactus Doom addresses Ben, mocking him by asking if he's back from the dead for one final showdown. Ben smirks and replies, "Someone asked me if I'd rather go to heaven or punch Victor Von Doom in the face. I told them, what's the difference?" Reed explains that Ben is serving as a distraction while Johnny and the infamous Iron Man are tasked with protecting M Squad. Johnny, still skeptical, asks Doom how they're supposed to deal with Doombots powered by Silver Surfer's abilities. Without missing a beat, Doom destroys one of the bots and responds dryly, "They may look like Doom, but they lack magic." As Ben and Galactus Doom clash, the titanic battle rages on. Galactus Doom quickly realizes that Ben is not from his universe and issues a chilling threat, promising to come for Ben's world next. Reed attempts to reason with Galactus Doom, but his pleas fall on deaf ears as Doom is too consumed by his own power and ambition to listen. Rachna activates the Luminet and urgently tells her team, it's now or never. Meanwhile, Johnny Storm bursts into flames, pushing his powers to their limits to mimic the intensity of a sun. Galactus Doom notices and sneers, using your weaker teammate as an artificial sun? Clever, Richards. Suddenly, the Johnny Storm from this universe blasts Galactus Doom with an overwhelming wave of flame, forcing him to stagger. Watching this, Johnny from the other universe comments bitterly, "Unbelievable. This Johnny has too much flame while mine is burning out." Doom and Johnny finish off the remaining Doombot heralds, and Doom pulls Johnny into a nearby ship where they find Norin Rad and Emma Frost. Doom asks if everything is proceeding as planned. Emma confirms, explaining that Norin used their psychic link, powered by the shared power Cosmic, to command Johnny to attack Galactus Doom. She adds that if the plan goes as intended, she will have just enough time to swap minds with Galactus Doom. However, Doom suddenly uses magic to restrain Emma, warning her, "We both know Doom's mind cannot be manipulated." As the battle rages on, Galactus Doom laughs, declaring, "Fools! All this energy you throw at me only makes me stronger." Over the radio, Susan desperately calls for Emma and Johnny, urging them to act immediately. Unbeknownst to her, infamous Iron Man Doom has both Emma and Johnny captive. Doom, believing only he is capable of wielding such immense power, hesitates to let them proceed with their plan. Johnny confronts Doom, challenging him, "You keep saying you've changed. Prove it. Don't let your ego destroy everything. Trust the Fantastic Four." Moved by Johnny's plea, Doom reluctantly releases them and allows the team to proceed with their plan. In the climactic moment, Emma successfully swaps minds with Galactus Doom, turning his power against him and ultimately defeating him. Ben looks at Emma, now radiating with cosmic energy, and remarks she looks like she's about to explode. Reed responds in a way, "Ben. Before she transferred her mind, I planted a Trojan horse, an overriding instruction to transform Galactus. All the energy in the universe carries its history, and now Emma is the opposite of a devourer. She'll restore the universe." Later, the group gathers at a gravesite, a solemn marker for the Galactus whose mind was swapped into Doom's body. Ben turns to the infamous Iron Man and asks, "Doesn't it creep you out that a version of your own body is buried here, but with Galactus's mind?" Doom replies coolly, "He is no more me than I am him." Johnny from this universe steps forward, offering Norin a fragment of the remaining power Cosmic, giving him the chance to become the Silver Surfer once more and reunite with Emma, now Galactus, somewhere in the cosmos. Norin transforms back into the Silver Surfer and, without hesitation, soars into the stars to catch up with his lover. As the team prepares to leave, Rachna announces, "I've locked onto the energy signatures of your Sue and Reed. It's time to get back to universe jumping." But as Reed approaches Ben, his expression is grave. "Ben, I'm not sure we can trust Rachna," he says quietly. "Her readings don't make sense. I took the liberty of examining the multisect and scanning the multiverse myself for those specific energy signatures. I found nothing." He hesitates, then adds solemnly, "I'm not wrong, am I? Your Reed and Sue, they're gone." Rachna addresses Johnny and Ben with a mix of sincerity and determination. "Look, I know this hasn't been easy. Your powers are failing, and some of the worlds we've visited haven't exactly rolled out the red carpet. I'll admit that. It's been physically challenging, sure, but it's also been emotionally hard, seeing other versions of yourselves, paths not taken, or even paths you did take. Seeing loved ones who aren't our loved ones. But remember why we're here, to find your Richards family. No substitutes, no compromises. And with this new world, I have to say, I've got a pretty good feeling about it. Ben looks at her skeptically and responds, Kid, I've been in the superhero game for a long time, and let me tell you, this doesn't feel like one of those good feelings. Rachna brushes off his doubts, pointing toward a massive structure in the distance. My readings are leading us there, she says. Johnny, visibly uneasy as he sees the towering structure, hesitates. Maybe we should wait until whoever's in there comes out, he suggests. Doom smirks at Johnny's hesitation. I always suspected you were a coward hiding behind your powers, he sneers. And now you've proven me right. Fine. I'll lead the way. My abilities aren't the result of some cosmic accident. With that, Doom strides forward confidently, leaving the others to follow. Johnny accuses Doom of having ulterior motives, suspecting that Doom wants to reach Reed first to kill him. Doom, unfazed, retorts, Your paranoia is predictable, Storm. My reasons for helping you are beyond your comprehension. You've always been too dim to grasp them. Ben cuts in, asking why Doom is even sticking around if he knows Ben lied about Reed and Sue still being alive. Doom scoffs, calling Ben dense. Did I not make it clear enough back at Castle Doom when I saved your life? I am here to protect you from yourself, Grim. I made a logical choice, a rededication of my life to helping others. Keeping you and Storm alive, even as you chase this hopeless fantasy, is part of that. Doom continues, his tone sharp and condescending. You are both spoiled, privileged children squandering your dwindling abilities on a fool's errand. And mark my words, you will get Jonathan killed. Ben snaps back, I'm helping Johnny, and he's not going to die. You can't kill the Fantastic Four. Doom smirks darkly. Oh, Benjamin. I've tried. Believe me, I have. But someone else beat me to it. Before Ben can respond, he notices Rachna has vanished. Doom, unbothered, conjures a spell to uncover what happened in this universe. As his magic unfolds, Doom narrates what he finds. It appears there was a conflict, how predictable, between this world's Captain America and Iron Man. It escalated into a true war, and one despondent hero killed Stark, imprisoned Rogers, and suddenly, Doom falters as his magic begins to fade. His expression hardens. Something about this universe is interfering with his power. In this universe, Doctor Strange materializes, declaring that magic is forbidden here and that he knows Ben, Johnny, and Doom don't belong. Doom, ever defiant, steps forward. Doom is far more than just magic sorcerer. You'll soon discover that, he warns. Strange remains unfazed and casts a spell, causing Doom's armor to wither and age rapidly. Strange then turns to the group, his tone sharp. You're trespassing on private property, he states. Suddenly, Spider-Man swings onto the scene, eyeing Ben and Johnny with a mix of nostalgia and caution. I thought those were my friends, he says, gesturing to Ben and Johnny, but my friends are long gone. Good thing my spider sense was tingling, a good tingle, though. He glances at Strange. So, Doc, what do you think? Are these guys ready for Battleworld? Meanwhile, back on Prime Earth, Spider-Man visits Alicia, who's busy sculpting in her studio. He watches her work and casually asks, Heard anything from Rocky and Flaming Bullwinkle? She shakes her head. No, but I'm used to it. Back when Ben and I were dating, he'd vanish for weeks at a time. Honestly, I'm not thinking much about him these days. Spider-Man glances around, noticing all the sculptures of the Thing, and smirks. Whatever you say, Alicia. I'm sure they're fine. If there's one thing I've learned after years of superhero adventuring, it's that this universe is the one we really have to worry about. Besides, they've got that Rachna lady with them. She's like some genius, right? And hey, if they don't find Reed and Sue, maybe she can give them new powers. That's her thing, yeah? Everything will be fine. Doom, Johnny, and Ben enter the Battleworld arena, fully aware they've walked into a death trap. Johnny, worried about his dwindling flames, voices his concerns, but Ben reassures him. Let me handle it, kid, he says. Above them, Spider-Man addresses the cheering crowd, mocking, this might be a good match. Who knows, maybe they'll last 2 minutes. As the battle begins, the three scatter, Doom heads for a spear, Johnny grabs a sword, and Ben charges headfirst into the beasts. Ben warns Johnny to retreat, but Johnny refuses. The Fantastic Two don't run, he shouts defiantly. In the crowd, Rachna spots her counterpart's sister, Disha, fighting in the arena. Shocked, she sprints toward her, but Doom strikes first, throwing a spear that takes Disha down before Rachna can intervene. Collapsing to the ground, Rachna reveals through tears that Disha was her sister. Doom coldly responds, accusing her of having a hidden agenda. I knew you weren't leading us to the Richards family. You've been looking for your sister this entire time. Johnny is livid, demanding answers. Rachna confesses that her sister in her world was trapped in an unresponsive body and needed a new one. She admits to searching the multiverse with them, hoping to find a viable version of her sister. Johnny, furious, accuses her of planning to overwrite another person's life just to save her sister. Doom interrupts, urging them to focus. He directs Ben to charge forward while Doom attempts to restore his magic. Johnny realizes Doom's plan and confronts him. Are you going to take over Doctor Strange's mind? Doom smirks. I don't need to. I just need the nearest person to do something for me. The nearest person to Doctor Strange is a butler. Under Doom's influence, the butler stabs Strange in the neck, and Doom regains his magic. Doctor Strange is down, Doom announces. We need to kill these monsters and retreat. Using his magic, Doom teleports them out of the arena. In the aftermath, Johnny demands answers from Rachna, sarcastically calling her Ms. Traitor. Overwhelmed, Rachna runs, intending to leave them behind and use the multisect to continue her search for her sister. Doom chases after her, shouting, "Damn it, woman!" The two vanish into the multiplane. Meanwhile, Johnny and Ben find themselves abandoned in the middle of a desolate desert. The story picks up with Ben and Johnny adapting to a universe ruled by Spider-Man, who now hosts Battleworld. On the television, announcements about the next match, Tigra vs. Moon Knight, fill the airwaves. The broadcast also reports that Spider-Man has been reclusive ever since Ben, Johnny, Rachna, and Doom escaped the arena. Spider-Man promises the public that his forces are closing in on the fugitives. In their new lives, Johnny burns himself while cooking, a stark reminder of how much he's changed without his powers. Meanwhile, Ben, now living as Dan, spends his days working and trying to keep a low profile. His friend Sid invites him out for drinks, but Ben declines, saying he has to head home. He stops by a diner to pick up burgers for himself and Johnny, now going by Jimmy. It's revealed that Ben and Johnny have been stranded in this universe for months and have completely lost their powers. As Johnny applies burn cream, Ben comments, "Again?" referring to Johnny's repeated mishaps. Johnny sighs, "I know. I miss it, I miss flying. I miss not having fear. Me without powers feels like less. You without powers, though, is a slight step up." Ben, visibly hurt, admits, "I'd trade this human form in a heartbeat if it meant having Reed and Susie back." The weight of their loss lingers between them as they try to navigate this unfamiliar life. Johnny reassures Ben that they'll find Reed and Sue and regain their powers, but in the meantime, he encourages Ben to ask out Margot, the waitress. Ben dismisses the idea, saying he's not interested. Johnny teases him, reminding him how frustrated he got over a simple face rash that kept him from dating for a week, while Ben endured years as a rock monster and is now acting like a celibate priest in his human form. Changing the subject, Johnny mentions he's looking for new information, and Ben tells him he'll call if anything comes up. Frustrated, Johnny says he's tired of waiting and accuses Ben of being too paranoid about Spider-Man finding them. He mocks Peter Parker's detective skills, insisting they have nothing to fear. Ben counters, saying they need to be cautious because they might be stuck there for a long time. Johnny tries to stay optimistic, declaring, "We're going to find our family, get our powers back, and head," but his sentence is cut off by a man who finishes it for him. "To Battleworld again, if you don't keep it down." The man introduces himself as Amadeus Cho. He explains that he would have contacted them if he had more information and that they didn't need to come to him directly. Johnny, annoyed, confronts Amadeus, reminding him that he promised he could find Reed and Sue. Amadeus clarifies, "Whoa, I said I could send out a message, a distress call across the multiverse tuned to your previous power signatures. If your Fantastic Four is out there, this will find them." Johnny, exasperated, demands to know when, venting his frustration about feeling like he's the only one truly invested in finding their family. Ben steps in and apologizes to Amadeus for Johnny's outburst. Amadeus says he understands and wishes he had better news to share. Ben then suggests Amadeus send distress calls to the Avengers from their universe as well. Amadeus points out that's a more complex task since he'd have to locate their specific universe first, instead of broadcasting to random ones. Amadeus then asks why Ben seems so unconcerned about finding Reed and Sue. Ben responds simply, "I'm just being a realist." Johnny receives a call from Amadeus, who informs him that he's found a way to narrow down the universes for their distress signal and asks if they're ready to send it out. Amadeus warns that there's a risk. It might reach a radically different version of the Avengers. When Johnny hears that Ben prioritized searching for the Avengers over Reed and Sue, he snaps. Furious, he confronts Ben, accusing him of hiding the truth. "Reed and Sue are dead, aren't they?" Johnny demands. Ben tries to explain, saying Johnny was in a bad place, but Johnny doesn't want to hear it. He attacks Ben in a fit of rage. The fight escalates. Johnny punches Ben, who throws him out of the house, but Johnny retaliates with another punch. Ben grabs Johnny, choking him, but eventually lets go. Johnny screams at Ben, calling him a monster for letting him believe that his sister, niece, and nephew were still alive. He tells Ben to fight back, but Ben refuses, saying, "I deserve this, kid. I love you, Johnny. You've got to know that." In the chaos, Johnny notices smoke. The house has caught fire from the tea he was about to make. Panicking, Johnny rushes inside despite the flames, but the smoke overpowers him, and he collapses. Ben charges in after him, carrying Johnny out of the burning house. Once outside, Ben demands, "What would make you go back into a burning house, Johnny?" That's when he sees Johnny clutching a scorched photograph of the Fantastic Four. Ben apologizes, finally confessing. He explains that Reed left him the multisect so they could continue adventuring, but Johnny had been in such a bad place after their loss that Ben thought this journey was the only way to pull him out of it. I thought it would help you, Ben says. I thought it was the only way to keep you from sinking. Johnny, still emotional, snaps back, you treated me like a kid. You had no right to do that. I was working through my emotions, Ben. And now I have to grieve all over again, while we're stuck in another universe, without my best friend, and we're going to die here. The story shifts to a man unlocking the door to his store, telling the people behind him that they're not open yet. As the door swings open, an alternate version of the Fantastic Four stands before him. One of them replies calmly, "It's okay. We've got some time to kill." Ben is driving himself and Johnny away from the burning house, the tension between them thick. Breaking the silence, Ben says, "I know we're not talking, but we need a place to stay. Could you check the community board at the diner for rentals?" Johnny glares at him and snaps, "Shut up. I'm still mad at you for lying about my sister, niece, and nephew. We're stuck here, but we don't have to be stuck together." Their argument is interrupted by a call from Amadeus. His voice comes through in a panic as he explains that some guys have taken the town hostage. "I don't think they're Spider-Man's gang," Amadeus says. "But they're looking for Johnny. They must have picked up on your multiverse message." Before he can say more, the radio cuts off abruptly. The scene shifts to a dark room where an alternate version of the Fantastic Four interrogates Amadeus. Lumen, a twisted and corrupted member of the Fantastic Four, has just smashed the microphone. He looms over Amadeus, demanding to know where the Human Torch and the Thing are hiding. Lumen turns to the Mad Thinker, who is this team's Mr. Fantastic, an eerie and cruel version of Reed, and brags about destroying the radio. Annoyed, the Mad Thinker strikes Lumen and sneers, "Idiot." Meanwhile, Ben, Johnny, and their friend Sid are hiding in the shadows, watching the chaos unfold. Ben suggests they flee to Denville, hoping to escape the madness and regroup. Johnny reluctantly nods, but the unease between them remains palpable as they prepare to make their escape. The people rounded up by this twisted version of the Fantastic Four begin to panic, fearing that the group is part of Spider-Man's gang, whom they dread even more. Meanwhile, Smash and Goodfire, members of this alternate Fantastic Four, voice their frustrations. They express gratitude to the Mad Thinker for granting them powers but are angry they can't turn them off. They resent being dragged to a different universe where they might have to face Spider-Man's forces and are furious that the Mad Thinker controls their only way home. The Mad Thinker then reveals that they stole the multisect from Machina, claiming it's their destiny to traverse the multiverse. He insists that their ultimate purpose as a Fantastic Four is to eliminate other universes' versions of the team, explaining that Rachna's machine latched onto Ben and Johnny's energy signatures, leading them to this universe. Suddenly, Ben and Johnny confront them. Ben quips that if the Mad Thinker wanted his signature, he could have just asked. The Mad Thinker sneers, mocking their powerlessness, and declares that defeating them will be easy. Johnny retorts, "Sure, no powers, but we've learned a few things. For example, I've lived with an invisible sister, so good luck sneaking up on me." With that, Johnny launches an attack on Lumen, whose powers allow him to bend light waves. The Mad Thinker warns the team not to engage until Lumen's powers stabilize, but Goodfire ignores him. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ben knocks Lumen to the ground. As the Mad Thinker steps forward to fight Ben, he orders Johnny to lead the civilians to safety. Meanwhile, Smash charges after Ben into a nearby house, where the two exchange insults as Ben skillfully dodges her attacks. Using his wits, Ben takes out a support beam, bringing the entire structure crashing down on Smash. Johnny confronts the Mad Thinker, and the two clash in a heated fight, exchanging insults. The Mad Thinker taunts Johnny, calling him and Ben sideshow freaks, and declares that without Reed Richards and Susan Storm, the Fantastic Four is meaningless. "Nobody needs you and Ben," he sneers. Before Johnny can respond, the Mad Thinker is blindsided as Ben plows into him with a truck. Ben offers Johnny a hand, pulling him into the vehicle, and the two speed off. Ben explains his plan, to lure the twisted Fantastic Four out of town and away from the civilians. He mentions heading back to Battle World to scavenge weapons, hoping to even the odds. However, on their way, they cross paths with Spider-Man and his gang. Johnny, alarmed, says this is bad. "What are we going to do?" Ben replies, "I don't know, but I'm sure they've spotted us. We just have to stay ahead of them." Johnny points out the danger of the desert. "We need to get back to a road, this place is full of landmines." But it's too late, the truck rolls over a mine. The explosion flips the vehicle, which catches fire. Johnny crawls from the wreckage, battered and bruised, and manages to pull Ben out as well. Gasping, he promises Ben, "I won't let you down, you're my best," before collapsing from exhaustion. As Johnny fades in and out of consciousness, he sees a figure standing over him. The voice says, "Looks like you've found yourselves in another fine mess, little brother." The figure steps closer, revealing herself to be Susan Storm. Spider-Man and his gang relentlessly pursue Ben and Johnny. One of his crew questions whether they're chasing the right targets, but Spider-Man, seething with rage, snaps back, "They murdered Strange, took out my best fighters, and humiliated me in front of all of Battle World. I'm so fired up to get these guys that, even if it isn't them, I'm going to kill them anyway. All right, crew. Let's finish this." At that moment, Ben and Johnny appear, fully powered up. Ben smirks and says, "My thoughts exactly." Spider-Man, shocked, exclaims, "You were powerless." Johnny retorts, "And now we ain't." The scene flashes back to Susan Storm's earlier arrival, where she desperately called out to Johnny, "Johnny, can you hear me? I don't have much time. Reed and the kids are in danger. The Zaclons are attacking our ship, and our powers were gone. But Reed figured it out, it's our connection. The four of us. We got your signal. I made it." Back in the present, Ben hurls a car at Spider-Man, who narrowly dodges it, while Johnny creates a fiery storm, blinding their pursuers. Ben takes advantage of the chaos to land a devastating punch on Spider-Man. Amid the commotion, Susan warns them, "There's no time to waste. We have to go, the Zaclons won't." She's interrupted by Johnny, who declares, "We have to save this town first. Those twisted Fantastic Four freaks are still here." Ben grins and nods. "What do you say, kid? Time to clean up this town." The Mad Thinker reflects on his defeat, calling it embarrassing that his team was beaten by Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm, even when they were powerless. Lumen, frustrated, retorts, "You got beat too. Why are we even here? Shouldn't we just go back to our own universe?" The Mad Thinker, undeterred, replies, "Be patient. Grimm and Storm are too guilty to abandon these townspeople. They'll come back to save them, I guarantee it." Right on cue, Johnny appears, seemingly surrendering. The Mad Thinker smirks and says, "Perhaps I underestimated you, Jonathan Storm. I always thought you were the most foolish of the original four, but maybe I was wrong. Where is your dim-witted companion?" Johnny lies, claiming that Spider-Man has captured Ben. He offers a deal: if the Mad Thinker frees the townsfolk, Johnny will submit to him. The Thinker agrees and releases the hostages. Johnny kneels before him, begging not to be killed and to serve him instead, before suddenly calling the Thinker a fraud and tackling him. The Mad Thinker's team is stunned to see Johnny using his powers. At the same moment, Ben arrives, announcing, "It's clobberin' time." Goodfire confronts Johnny, threatening to ignite the town. Johnny smirks and says, "Flame off." Goodfire is shocked as his powers vanish. Johnny reveals, "The Thinker didn't tell you, did he? I can control fire, absorb heat, change temperatures. You never stood a chance." Relieved to be rid of his uncontrollable powers, Goodfire thanks Johnny, only for Johnny to knock him out. Together, Johnny and Ben take down 3 members of the Mad Thinker's Fantastic Four. Johnny tosses the Mad Thinker into a sand dune, while Lumen, who had turned invisible, reappears and surrenders. "Look," Lumen says, "I could just run, but where to? I just need a lift home, even if it's to prison." Johnny laughs. "Man, I wish all our supervillains were like you." Lumen shrugs and replies, "I'm more of a super guy who needed some extra cash." Johnny tracks down the Mad Thinker, who sneers, "Here to take me in. Denying our world a new Mr. Fantastic, because what? You're worried I might actually do it better? Or is it some childish belief that he's still alive? My only mistake was trying to replace you, as if our universe ever needed a Human Torch." Johnny ignores the jab and demands the multisect. The Mad Thinker prepares for a fight, but when Johnny flames on, he immediately surrenders. Johnny then delivers his final word, "You thought you could be Reed? Being Reed Richards isn't about being the smartest guy in the room or having powers. It's about being selfless. It's about helping people. You really want to be Mr. Fantastic, Thinker? Fill some void? Fine. Last I checked, this world doesn't have one anymore. Good luck. And one more thing, get yourself an unstable molecule suit. Regular ones? They don't burn so well." As they regroup, Ben says, "All right, let's get out of here. I'm really starting to feel homesick." Amadeus joins them, relieved to see Ben back in action. Margot, the diner waitress, looks at Ben and asks, "Wait, is that Dan?" Ben corrects her, saying, "It's Ben. Just Ben." Amadeus explains, "I thought something like this might happen. When I wasn't having much luck with the distress signals, I expanded them, to include time. Just in case your friends weren't just lost in the multiverse. Each message creates a small tear through time and space, and it looks like I accidentally connected you to earlier versions of your friends, which seems to have reawakened your powers." Johnny looks down, visibly upset. Ben approaches cautiously and says, "Look, kid, I'm sorry for lying to you." Johnny shakes his head. "It's not that," he replies. I saw Sue. Or at least I think I did. After the explosion. She said she had to leave to save Reed and the kids." His voice cracks. "But what if it wasn't real?" Ben places a comforting hand on Johnny's shoulder. "Don't worry about them, kid. Reed and Sue are the smartest yahoos we know. They'll figure it out. They'll come back." Ben pulls Johnny into a hug, adding, "We're brothers, Johnny. I love you. And we'll get through this. Together." With renewed determination, they activate the multi-sect and leave the universe behind, ready to finally return home. Meanwhile, Spider-Man is still stranded in the desert, fuming. "I'll find them," he growls. "I don't care how long it takes, those two aren't getting away from me." Before he can finish his rant, he's struck by a sudden invisible blow, knocking him out cold. Susan Storm steps into view, lowering her force field. "My readings show they're not here," she says softly. "Looks like they made it home after all." She pauses, looking out across the barren landscape, a wistful smile forming. And what about us? She murmurs. It's been so long. I miss them. Maybe it's time to get the family back together. The story picks up with employees of an electronic repair shop working. We discover that the employee fixing a radio is none other than the Mad Thinker. He went to a normal life in evil Spider-Man's universe repairing electronics. A customer walks in and we don't see who it is, but we hear them say, "Hello, Thinker. I'd heard you've been doing an unflattering impression of me. But I have to admit, I'm impressed you went for the beard." Ben and Reed capture the Mad Thinker to take him back to their universe and go out to eat at the diner Margot works at. She asks how the burgers are and Reed says that they're the best in the multiverse. He then says to Ben that bringing the Mad Thinker to their universe is the ethical thing to do. Ben is upset with Reed. He says the following: "We were here for weeks. Because we were looking for you. Johnny was at rock bottom and I wasn't far behind. We were stranded, powerless, hopeless. Just thinking this was it. Couldn't even use our real names because of the danger we were in. If we died here, we wouldn't have even been buried under our real names, Reed." Reed then says that he would have moved heaven and earth too. Ben cuts him off and asks, "Why did you leave us behind? Me and Johnny." Reed says, "Let's pay up and get back to the multicar. There is something else that I want to show you." Reed then takes Ben to Universe F266 on a planet called Heiser. He shows Ben a plant. He tells Ben that he, Sue, and the kids came there to do research. The water was sentient there, and it connected all plant life, creating a symbiotic relationship. They were there to find out if it was a singular sentience, or a multiple. He says that the research got complicated and fascinating. Reed then begins to break down the science of it all. Is the water and plant life mutualistic, commensalistic, or parasitic? Meanwhile, Ben is not paying attention. Reed asks him if he heard any of what he was telling him, and Ben says he forgot how boring Reed could be. Reed then tells Ben the following: "This is part of why Sue and I just took the kids. I knew it would bore you and Johnny to tears. And we were done with being superheroes. Life as the Fantastic Four was supposed to be about being explorers, but it ended up being about putting out fires, heading into danger, ready to save everything and everyone. Sue and we just wanted to show the kids the multiverse, to quietly study planets like these, to watch exploding stars from safe distances. Just the science of everything." Ben is angry that Reed didn't even ask if Ben and Johnny wanted to join along. Ben then steps on a plant, further angering Reed. Reed says that he thought it was just him, Sue, and the kids. It would just be about science, and there would be no life-threatening predicaments. The plant that Ben stepped on then grows in size and attacks Ben. Reed joins the fight, saying that he was wrong. Whether they are apart or together, they always manage to find trouble. While they fight, they are talking. Ben asks if Reed just thought that Ben and Johnny would be bored. "You thought that if we tagged along there would be trouble." Ben and Reed uproot the plant, essentially neutralizing it. Ben then continues, "You thought it was okay for Johnny and me to be left behind and think you were dead." He throws Reed and tells him that he let them believe the kids were dead. Reed apologizes and says that he needs to show Ben one last thing. Then the two leave the planet. On the ship, the Mad Thinker is babbling on about getting his revenge. Ben asks Reed if they could put a gag on him. Reed says sometimes it does some good to let the villains ramble. They tend to reveal their plans that way. But I suspect Thinker here doesn't quite have any yet, so we may as well enjoy some silence. Ben says gladly and covers the Mad Thinker's mouth. Reed then says that it's a shame the multisect was destroyed, but applying its properties to an actual vehicle made more sense. Ben says he hated floating through the multiverse. Ben asks where Reed is taking him. Reed tells him somewhere familiar. To his surprise, Reed has taken Ben to Castle Doom. Ben says nobody has seen Doom since he locked himself in there. Ben then says, "Wait, is this our universe's Doom, or are we still hopping the multiverse?" Reed then tells Ben to say hello to Victor. Doom tells Reed that he has a lot of nerve to show up there, especially after discovering the flux gravity. The two embrace as if they were good friends, leaving Ben standing there shocked at what he is seeing. Doom and Reed talk science while Ben stands there in disbelief. Doom tells them that they are just in time for lunch. Reed then tells Ben that they are in Universe P1837. A universe where the Fantastic Four doesn't exist and Dr. Doom is nice. Reed then tells Ben that the Fantastic Four on that planet split up and had their own jobs. Reed says that when he first created the multisect, he ended up in this universe. He thought Doom was a bad guy and fought him. He said that Doom got the upper hand but spared Reed's life. He tells Ben that this Doom was good friends with Reed and that they have been on many adventures together. Ben says, "So you're telling me that because you're dead here, Vic came out kind of okay?" Reed says there are many variables that are possible, but maybe. Doom then shows Reed one of his new discoveries, a Hellstar. Entropy that produces heat. Reed goes out to get some air. Ben follows behind and tells him that dessert is being served. Ben tells Reed that the Doom from their universe was trying to be good. He then says, "But what if Dooms are always too doomy to really stay good?" Reed tells Ben that he was convinced that if Doom from their universe was sure Reed was dead, that he would rise above his petty jealousy and be a good person. He tells Ben that he should have him and Johnny know that they were alive, but he couldn't risk it. If Ben and Johnny knew, then Doom would somehow find out. But he wanted Doom to become a good person, so he said nothing. Ben tells Reed that he was wrong and that he needs to start trusting his friends and family. If there is one thing Reed should have learned from being in the Fantastic Four is that they can do anything if they are together. Reed and Doom talk science some more and then say their goodbyes. Ben asks what Doom said to Reed. Reed tells him that Doom says to not give up on Doom. Outside Monster Island, Mole Man fumes with frustration. Doom's takeover of the island has left his life in ruins. He destroyed everything, Mole Man growls. The monsters, my monsters, don't listen to me anymore. I'm nothing to them. Speaking to a shadowy figure, he pleads, I need them back. I need power to make them listen again. I heard power is your business, so tell me, can you help me, Ms. Cole? Back with the Fantastic Four, the family enjoys a rare quiet moment together. Johnny stands in the kitchen, cooking, while Ben relaxes with a newspaper, and Reed tinkers on a project with the kids. Lost in thought, Johnny burns the food. Sue quickly gathers the smoke into a bubble with her powers and releases it out the window. What's going on with you, Johnny? She asks, concerned. You've been so distracted lately. Johnny shrugs. It's just, everything's been crazy. The family's back together, Ben's engaged to Alicia, and I should feel happy, but I just feel tired. Sue, sensing his mood, suggests some brother-sister time to cheer him up. Later, the two are seen in town, shopping together. At a store, Sue tries on hats while Johnny picks out a jacket. As he pays, Sue glances at the price tag. Isn't that a little expensive? She asks. Johnny grins. Reads back. He'll invent something and make us rich again. Sue raises an eyebrow. You burn through clothes constantly. Maybe don't splurge on something so pricey. Johnny rolls his eyes. Stop acting like you're our mom. Sue softens, changing the subject. I'm sorry, Johnny. For leaving and not giving you the choice to come with us. Johnny's expression hardens. Yeah, I'm still mad about that. But it's not just that. He takes a breath before continuing. You and Reed didn't even give me the option to decide. You hid everything from me. And Ben? He lied to me, dragged me on a wild goose chase just to keep me believing in something. All of you, the closest people in my life, you treated me like I was a kid. And yeah, I'm still angry. Before Sue can respond, Johnny suddenly notices something outside, his mood shifting abruptly. Wait a second, do you see that? He says, pointing. Mole Man appears, riding a massive monster, leading an invasion of New York City. Sue watches, shaking her head. It's Mole Man, she sighs. Some things never change. Johnny smirks. Alright, let's be superheroes. Flame on. As Johnny ignites, Sue glances at him. Didn't you say the monsters rejected him? What's going on? Sue attacks the monster's upper body with her force fields, while Johnny shouts to Mole Man, I thought the monsters kicked you out. Mole Man scoffs. Impertinent fool. The Mole Man has always been revered by monsters. Our shared goal of destroying humanity and claiming the surface world remains unbroken. Johnny calls to Sue, grab those steel beams from the construction site. Sue quickly moves, wrapping the beams around the monster in an attempt to restrain it. But the creature thrashes and breaks free. A moment later, Sue is nearly swallowed by another monster, until something pierces it, killing it instantly. The figure responsible steps forward, revealing herself as Rachna. I don't think these things are what they appear to be, she says. Johnny immediately confronts her. You backstabber. You abandoned Ben and me to die, and now you feel guilty because you gave Mole Man the power to control these things. Rachna screams, No! It's not me! Before Johnny can reply, Rachna notices something unusual and charges toward another monster. She slices it open, revealing machinery underneath. They're robots! She exclaims. Sue, now relieved, says, Well, that's good news. With renewed determination, Johnny and Sue fight furiously, destroying the mechanical monsters. As the chaos subsides, Johnny flies down to confront Rachna again. Start talking. Why did you leave us stranded in another universe? He demands. Rachna, visibly shaken, explains, Johnny, you've got to believe me, I had nothing to do with this. After I left you and Ben, I came back to find the Mad Thinker and his gang in my lab. While I was gone, they used my equipment to give themselves powers and stole the multisect. If I still had it, I swear I would have come back for you. She pauses, catching her breath. After the Mad Thinker left, Mole Man came to me, offering money to help him control monsters. That's when I knew I couldn't keep giving powers to the highest bidder. I turned him down, and he was furious, swore he'd find a way to force me. I was at the hospital visiting my sister when I heard the commotion and rushed here. Sue, now focused, asks, Where's Mole Man? Rachna's face turns pale. He must be going after my sister. He knows where she is. She quickly gives them the hospital floor and room number. Please, you've got to save her, Rachna pleads. Without hesitation, Johnny and Sue race off to stop Mole Man. Mole Man threatens Rachna's sister but is caught off guard when Reed Richards enters the hospital room. Reed swiftly restrains Mole Man and turns to Rachna. You must be Rachna Kull, he says. Rachna nods, her voice heavy with guilt. I am, the traitor Rachna Kull. The one who tricked Johnny and Ben into letting me travel the multiverse, to find another body for my comatose sister. If it means anything, it killed me every step of the way. Playing with their hope, manipulating them, it still sits in my heart like a black mass of guilt. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But she's my family, and I'd do anything for her, no matter how much pain I have to carry. I know I can't make it up to them, but I'll try. I swear I'll. Reed interrupts her gently. No one understands the lengths you'd go for family better than we do. You made mistakes, but we'll do our best to help her. That's what this family is about. With that, Reed takes Disha, Rachna's sister, to the Baxter building to run tests and offer whatever help he can. Meanwhile, Johnny finds Ben sitting on the roof, taking in the fresh air. Johnny approaches him and says, "What Rachna did was wrong. What you did was wrong. What Reed and Sue did was wrong. But we need to be better at trusting each other with our pain, better at sharing it. I get why you did what you did, because you love me, and you wanted to carry that pain yourself. So yeah, you were wrong. But thanks." As Ben looks at Johnny with a small smile, Sue arrives, carrying mugs of hot cocoa. "I thought we could all use this," she says. The Fantastic Four family sit together on the roof and enjoy the cocoa under the open sky, savoring a rare moment of peace as a family. And that wraps up Marvel's 2-in-1. I hope you enjoyed diving into this incredible storyline about Johnny and Ben, losing their powers, traveling across the multiverse, and ultimately reconnecting with their loved ones. It's a story packed with action, emotion, and the bonds that make Marvel so special. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on this epic journey. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on more deep dives into the world of comics. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.